Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Anna McNaught, and I will be your host today. And I am joined by the Photoshop legend and one of my very good friends, Jesús Ramirez. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Anna. Thank you so much for that introduction. Wow, I'm blushing now.
I know, you're definitely a legend and someone who I myself have learned from, and I'm very lucky to call you a friend, and I'm happy and honored to be hosting you again today. I know we've had so much fun in the past, and so yeah, it's great to be here with you. And welcome everyone into the chat. Nice to see familiar faces. We got Carol and Steve and Sam. Welcome everyone. Just a couple housekeeping things before we let Jesús kick it off with an amazing class today. If you are watching over on YouTube, be sure to join us on behance.net/Adobe Live so that you can join in on the fun and chat with us and ask Jesús any questions that you may have and just hang. Also, be sure to head over to the Creative Cloud Express YouTube channel and subscribe for our newest addition to the Adobe Live lineup. Creative Cloud Express is something that I have used in the past and use now that it has been rebranded, and it's honestly one of my favorite apps. So be sure to check that out. And you can learn how to use it with Voodoo Val on that new YouTube channel. So without further ado, Jesús, it looks like we got some really cool stuff in store for today. So you want to just kick us off here?
Sure, let's get started. Why not? And by the way, I see Sean. Oh, Sean is always in the chat. Hey, good to see you, Sean. So
hey, Sean
is posting the banana. So I guess I'm gonna have to talk about it. So yeah, Sean, go into Edit Toolbar, hold the Shift key, and click on Done, and you'll get a banana on your toolbar, and that's part of the ABC Club, as Sean named as the Adobe Banana Club. So make sure that you add a banana into your toolbar. But yeah, thank you everybody so much for joining us. It's awesome being here with you, Anna, and the rest of the Adobe Live team. I think last time I think I hosted your husband last time, and then I hosted you, I think the time before that. So it's good that I get to host both of you from time to time, and then you get to host me. As you said, we're good friends, and it's always fun doing these streams with my friends, because it feels like I'm just hanging out and just hanging out with friends.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I forgot last time I was supposed to host you, and then I had something I couldn't get out of. So then James took over. So it's good that we have both James and I, so we can fill in for each other.
That's right. And I see that Ferry's talking about the shirt. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that, Ferry. Ferry won, I think, the same shirt at Adobe Max. That we're giving them away out at Adobe Max. But anyway, cool. So what I'm going to do in this stream is we're going to talk about compositing, surreal compositing, impossible worlds. We're just going to create something fun. Some of you may have seen the thumbnail of this stream before joining, and this is basically what we're going to create, but that doesn't mean that we have to stick to the script. If you guys have any ideas and want me to throw something in there that I haven't planned for, then let me know in the chat, because it's always fun to challenge yourself and see how I can make something work. So yeah, let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, so the first thing that I'm going to do is just duplicate this layer. And you guys know this, with the move tool you can move a layer around, and what I'm going to do is just rotate it this way counterclockwise and then flip it vertically like so, and I'm just going to place it here. And with this super duper cool selection tool, the Polygonal lasso tool, I'm going to click on this corner here and then click on this corner, so the bottom corner of the canvas and the top right corner of where the top layer meets the bottom layer, and I'm just going to make a selection. And all we need to do now is just create a layer mask, and it's going to create that effect there, which is completely terrible. And that is because I made a mistake, Anna. What I needed to do is be
off
on
to
this,
a good start.
off to a great start. Where I needed to do is be, the road needed to be facing the other way. Hey guys, what time is it? It's like 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I forgive you.
Yeah, what time is it for you, Anna?
It's 12:30.
Oh, it's already lunchtime for you. Well, thank you for skipping lunch and joining me. But anyway, what I wanted to show you guys is that you can create this weird looking effect by just creating layer masks and distorting layers. And I know I did that too fast and I made a mistake. So why don't we just start from scratch? So what I really wanted to do was rotate this over like so, place it here, and then right click and flip it vertically like so. And with the Polygonal lasso tool, I was just gonna make a selection that did that. And once I create a layer mask, we'll create that cool looking wall thing. And it creates this amazing surreal world. And I think that completes the composite for today. So thank you guys so much for, no, just kidding. We're gonna do a whole lot more. But I mean, you can already start, you can already start seeing what, what we're gonna do, right? Because when you take a photo and then align it in a certain way and create layer masks, you can start creating these weird surreal looking worlds. And by manipulating it more, we can actually get it to look more quote unquote realistic. And what I'm going to do is, instead of having it going up, I'm going to have it going down. So I'm going to invert the layer mask. Control I on Windows, Command I to invert. You probably didn't notice, but I unlinked the layer from the layer mask so that I can move both the layer mask independently from the layer. So when this chain link icon is disabled, I can select the layer mask. You can see the focus, the white outline around the mask, and I can just move the mask without moving the layer. And I can do the same thing. I can now move the layer independently from the mask. And I'm just trying to decide where the edge of, this is going to be. And it will require some guesstimation, but, like I'm looking at like this road and I'm trying to align it. And, you can see that there's like a red truck kind of going by there. So then that's what I'll do. I'll just kind of align it to that red truck as best as I can. And you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to nudge it. I don't think I need to do that. I think I did a good job just with, just by eyeballing it and using the move tool. By the way, I'm freaking out that I'm probably going to like lose this for some reason. So I'm just gonna save as and just call it, I don't know, just place it in this tutorials folder and I'll just call it Adobe Live Cube.
Always such a good reminder to save
Earth.
your work.
Yeah, I'm always, because it's a habit of mine of just, as I'm working, just pressing Control S, Command S, to save. And I haven't been doing it till like my hand is itchy. So I needed to save it. But yeah, have you guys ever lost something while working in photo? I've lost like, and this is, like Photoshop 7 before the recovery or any of that in Photoshop. And oh God, I've lost hours of work just for not saving.
Oh, me too. I had it happen today. Like
today.
My computer decided to crash and I'm pretty sure everything was saved. I'll let you know later once I check all the files, but it just like shut down on me. The fans were running too hard. I had maybe 15 windows open in Photoshop trying to finish this project up.
No.
And I think everything was ready to go, but you know how sometimes you'll open images to have them all laid out, ready to go into a composite. And then when it shuts down, it doesn't recover those. It's like and then you're like, oh, I was saving that open. So I had that idea. So it triggered this thought and this thought. Yeah, I lost the whole thing, but.
Oh man. It happens and it sucks when it does.
Yeah.
What I'm going to work on now is only because you and I were talking briefly about it before we started the stream, Anna, which is this road. I kind of want to have this road come up, like kind of coming towards the camera. So to do that, I'm going to make a selection again with the Polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to get a lot more than I need. That's one thing I like to do when I'm working. I like to just get a lot more than I need so then I can have the flexibility to hide it and show pixels accordingly. So I selected the road, and on this original layer here, I'm just going to press Control J to duplicate the layer. A way of, I remember when I first started learning Photoshop, I learned from a guy named Deke McKellen. Shout outs to Deke. He's a good friend of mine now. And Deke used to say, the way to remember that shortcut is by thinking of jumping a layer. Control J, jump. So I always think about that when I press Control J. What I'll do now and I like to name my layers. And one of the reasons that I like to name my layers is not, yeah, sure, you want to be organized, but it also helps you to work faster, because if I want, I mean, obviously I have 3 layers, so it's pretty easy to select the layer that I want at the moment. But assuming that I had a lot more layers and I wanted to select that road, all I need to do is hover over the image, right click, and notice that, with the move tool selected, by the way, and notice that the drop down gives me the layer name. See that? So then if you name your layers, you can easily select the layer that you want. It selects it in the layers panel, and you can just select it, rather than, you know, fumbling through 1,000 layers in the layers panel and trying to figure out, you know, which unnamed layer you're trying to select. So it's just easier to just right click and select the one that you want, and it just selects it. And by the way, see how I have the 3 layers here: road, background, copy, and background. But up here, I only have 1 layer. And right here, I only have 2 layers, because it depends on what part of the image you right click on. That's the option that the drop down gives you.
That's so cool. I didn't know about that at all.
It's a really, really useful tool. What I'm going to do now is right click on this layer and convert it into a smart object. In case you don't know, a smart object is a container that can hold 1 or more layers, and it allows you to apply non-destructive adjustments, distortions, filters, and transformations. In other words, you can work non-destructively. So we're going to work with this road, and I don't know how, you know, like how it's going to end up looking. So I might make a mistake. So I want to have the flexibility to come back. So I'll press Control T, Command T to transform, and I'm just going to just increase the perspective. Whoops. I have, I don't know if you work with Overscroll, Anna, but I work with Overscroll. So sometimes I do that by accident.
What is Overscroll?
Overscroll, Control K, Command K to bring up the, oops, let me just exit the transformation there, Control K. And there we go. It came up on my other window. Here we go. Overscroll is under tools, and Overscroll right here. I like to check. So it's off by default. I turned it on. So by default it's off. And that means that the canvas is always in the center. See how I have the hand tool and I'm clicking and dragging and nothing is happening? That's because the canvas is always locked to the center. With Overscroll, again, Control K. I don't know what I clicked on. So I'm going to do that again. I unchecked, oh yeah, I unchecked that, but I didn't see it, so I didn't want to risk messing my settings. But with Overscroll under tools, that makes it so that you can move the canvas, because sometimes I just want to move the canvas to the side and I don't want it to be in the center. I just feel like it's, I don't know, just, I want to be able to, I feel like it's like a piece of paper and I want to be able to like move it around my screen. And with Overscroll, you cannot do that, and that's the default setting. So again, Control K on Windows, Command K on the Mac under Tools. Check Overscroll if you want to be able to move your canvas around like so over the workspace.
That's awesome.
But anyway,
the
downside of that is sometimes you're working on something and you may accidentally like whoops, move it to the side. So that's what I did earlier. Anyway, so with this road active, layer active, I'm going to select it, grab a little pivot point here. The reference point, I think, is the actual term. Make sure that you enable it from right up here. And then you can just click and drag it. Or if you want to be fancy, you can hold Alt on Windows, Option in the Mac, and click, and boom, there it goes. And now I can scale from there. See that? I can scale from there. And what I'm going to do is select perspective by right clicking and then just dragging this over like so. And that kind of makes it seem like the road is coming towards us a little bit. And, you know, that creates that perspective that you see there. What I'm going to do now is mask, right? And I'm probably going to take the easy, lazy way out. And I'm just going to select the Polygonal lasso tool and then just follow the edges.
I'm glad that you like that too. I like that tool way more than the pen tool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, and also like in the stream, I don't know if people want to sit here and watch me, you know, select this road for 15 minutes.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Okay, so I selected the side of the road here, and if I just create a layer mask, it'll keep that, right? But I want the opposite. I want to keep everything else and not that. So I'm going to hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click on the layer mask icon, and it hid that part of the layer. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll be even more lazy this time. I'm just going to create a giant line. This comes all the way through like so, and I'm going to fill with black. There it is. And now this road is looking more like it's coming towards us. It's creating that perspective. And obviously we can even go find a photo like on Adobe stock or something with like a curve or something and composite that in, of course. But, you know, I'm using the elements on the image just because, you know, it has the same lighting and, you know, we can probably match it better. And now I'm going to come here and just fade it in just because not everything is aligning properly. And you know what, I'm going to use this line that's already here and somehow use that to, like, I don't know, this is where the road would start, and I'm not liking how this is looking, to be honest with you, so we'll fix it in a moment. Let me see what we could do is, all right, so I changed my mind just because I kind of had it aligned. Maybe it'll be easier to just work on this side and not the other side. Yeah, something like this. There we go. Actually, no, change my mind again. I'm just trying to think of what will be the easiest, you know, because this doesn't have a lot of detail, so I don't need to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, something like that, you know, I can probably get away with. And there you go. You can't really tell.
Yeah, you can't tell.
Yeah. I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like I spend too much time on. I would have probably spent like 20 minutes on that if you guys weren't watching. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it would have made a difference or not. You know. Another thing that you can do is you can select, you know, one of the shadow colors down here and make sure that you actually have the layer enabled, not the layer mask. Because if you have the layer mask enabled, you can only choose white and black, right? Because that's what I have on my layer mask. But if I click on my actual layer, I can now select the colors that are in the actual scene. By the way, if you're still not getting the colors that you want, make sure that you have sample all layers active. I like to use all layers. In some cases, you might decide to do all layers without an adjustment. What that means is that if you have an adjustment layer and it's creating, you know, like a weird adjustment, when you click and drag with the eyedropper tool, it's only going to select the colors that are in the image without the adjustment. See how I'm just clicking over this area and it's black, but it's picking up the green? That's because having all layers, no adjustments means that it would just disregard all the adjustments. So those are the two that I usually use, all layers and no adjustments. Rarely do I use any of the others. But anyway, so I'm just gonna select like some of the shadows here, and underneath this layer, I can call this road shadow or something like that, just to try to create some depth in this scene. And I'm going to increase the brush size a little bit, and I'm just gonna here's a trick. If you click once and hold shift and click again, you create a straight line in between both points, so you know you can do stuff like this. And what I'm going to do now is simply start here and like right about here, something like that. And maybe in this part that is higher, maybe there's more of that shadow showing. So I don't know, something like that. And I know I'm getting it on the other side, but you know, with the tilde key, which is one of the new keyboard shortcuts in Photoshop 2021 or 20, I forget, you can erase. So when you paint, you can hold the tilde key and then you can erase with the same brush. And the reason that that's like a valuable tool, it's because back in the day, been saying that back in the day just because of this Super Bowl halftime show, like
that was amazing. That was the best halftime ever.
Oh yeah, are you kidding me? That's all the music that I listened to as a kid. So.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm trying to find the right brush to show you this example. Yeah, this works, right? So if you're painting with a brush, right, like this one, and this is before this new version of Photoshop, and you made a mistake and you wanted to erase, you really only had two options, which is either select the eraser tool, but when you erase, notice that that's not the same brush, so it doesn't look natural, right?
Right.
So the old school hack was to change the blending mode from normal to clear. Behind and clear are two blending modes that are only found in the brush tool. So the clear blending mode actually allows you to erase with the same brush that you have active. So that's what you used to have to do back in the day. Nowadays, we can just simply hit the tilde key. In North American keyboards, that's the key to the left of the number 1 above the tab key on the top left-hand side of the keyboard. And you can just hold it and then just erase with that same brush, which makes it more natural as, you know, old school eraser tool, or having to go through the trouble of changing blending modes. So that's
Wow.
one of the new features, 2021, I'm pretty sure now, not 22. The point is if you have the Creative Cloud, you don't have to worry about it. You have it, and you can just hold the tilde key to erase. But anyway,
that's such a game changer. I didn't know about that. You're teaching me so many things today.
I'm glad, Anna. I'm glad. Let us know in the chat if this is new to you as well.
Yeah, people are saying that that's really helpful. A few people are saying they didn't know about that. And I feel like it's very easy to get used to doing things a certain way that you do in Photoshop. And then you forget about these new updates, other than like the super viral ones, like the neural filters, the ones that are like a huge deal. These little tiny nuances we all forget about. So this is so key for those reminders.
Definitely. Excuse me. So back to the shadow. So here's the shadow, and it looks like I've painted something up here. So let me just paint that away, whatever that was. And looks like I got some here that I don't want. Cool. So that's my shadow, and I can just change the blending mode to multiply, and that's probably too dark, so I can bring down the opacity. And usually what I like to do is just bring it down to 0 and then just increase it. And then, I don't know, I feel like I get a better view of things that way. The key thing in what I just did in this shadow is that I just didn't simply paint with black. I don't think that you get really realistic shadows if you just paint with black. I like to find the color of the shadows in the scene and then use that to paint, because I just feel that it makes it feel more cohesive and more realistic. And I'm not liking the shadow here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the tilde key, click, and erase. There we go, just so that it makes it seem like it's higher on this side, but not so high over here. Cool. And I can already tell that some of you are probably thinking, well, this looks cool and all, but we have a lot of issues with these. Let me just disable all these layers with these cars down here. See that? All these cars. And you know, if I was smarter, which I'm not, I would have created a smart object to begin with. I was having a lot of troubles with that layer. The reason that I'm saying that if I was smarter, I would have created a smart object is because I could have worked on it. You know, I could have worked on this side layer, but while still seeing the regular version inside of the smart object. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I created a smart object, and I'm just going to like redo that step for a third time today. Can you believe it, Anna? And let me see. Let me just get it to where it needs to be. A lot of times, I don't know if this happens to you when you're doing streams or anything or teaching, but like you just forget a step because you're talking and then you realize it and you're like, oh my God, I forgot to do, you know, whatever it is. You know, but it helps us because I'm going to show you another trick. So I have this layer and I'm trying to align it to the layer below. And one of the ways you can do that is by selecting the difference blending mode. And the difference blending mode basically makes things black when they're the same. And just so that I don't get confused, I'm going to also hide that one. Oh, did I just like completely got it? Is that what I did there? Let me see. Oh, wow. I think I got it. See, I didn't even have to like do the trick. I got super lucky. But anyway, I'm just going to copy the mask over to that layer, and this layer I don't need. And there you go. We're back. And the reason that I went through this whole process, Anna, was so that I could now double click on this smart object. And notice that as soon as I do that, like I get the original image back, right? So it's easier to work when I'm actually looking at what the road should look like than like when it's here, if that makes any sense. So for example, what I could do here is we can see this truck, right? This red truck is going to collapse. There's going to be an accident here, right? So we don't want that. So what I can do is find that red truck in this layer, and I can now select the clone stamp tool, create a new layer to work non-destructively, of course. I have sample all layers selected. Remember earlier when I talked about the eyedropper tool and that we had the all layers, no adjustments? Well, the clone stamp tool has the same thing, but they don't really tell you. It's just that right there, this icon right here, same thing.
Oh.
But so why is it not a drop down on this tool? I don't know, but the button does the same thing. And I'm just going to, you know, do this as fast as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, like I could get it close enough. And the reason also that I'm not being too precise is because I don't know what's going to show and not show in the in that composite. So I'm just trying to, you know, just get it good enough and then do like the details later. And this is going to be good enough. And actually, you know what? Just to, you know, I change my mind often when I'm like really working. So what I would probably do in this case, to be honest, is maybe select this whole entire thing and then move that over instead of just, you know, cloning. Because once I get it in here, oh, and I apologize, I guess my phone, I forgot to turn off my phone. Sorry about that. But anyway, let me make sure that it's off because I don't want people to keep calling me. Anyway, so I'll distort the layer and I'm just going to align it as best as I can to the road, and that seems to be good enough. That works. And now I can just hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click, and it hides everything. And I can just paint with white on areas that I want to bring back. So something like that. And that way I can create a better transition. So
yeah,
before
that looks good.
And after. And now when I save this, if everything works, that truck is still there. What, did I get the wrong red truck? Let me see, is there another red truck? Oh my God, is it this red truck?
Wait, was it on the
Oh, it's probably this one. It's probably that one. Oh yeah, it's that one. Okay, so I erased the wrong truck, but that's all right. I'll do the same thing.
Killing it today.
Killing it today. Oh man. How are there two red trucks on the road, for God's sake?
They look exactly the same, too. They have like the same type of truck bed.
Yeah, I blame the chat for not telling. No, just kidding.
I didn't notice it either.
Yeah, but I mean, now that we know what we're doing, I'm just going to like make like this giant selection and move this over here like so, and distort it, and we should be able to get it to look nice without too much work. And it's taking more work than I anticipated, but it is what it is.
I feel like that's pretty close.
I would agree with you, Anna. And just paint with white here. There we go. And then, by the way, I'm tapping on the X key to swap between the foreground and background color. So you can see as when I tap the X key, foreground and background color changes. And this looks close enough. And now the truck should disappear and there will be no accidents. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. And what I can do now is maybe work a little bit on making this seem more like an actual edge. I think we'll leave that for a little later on. I think I want to work on bigger details rather than these small details. Also, you know, these cars here are facing the wrong way, so I could go in there and kind of what I just did, just erase them and maybe composite some cars facing the opposite way. But the point is that you have total control over that. Why don't we try adding a car up here? I know I have a photo of a car that may work, but maybe we can also go into Adobe Stock and find something else. And actually, I haven't even licensed this one, so I guess I'll license it now from Adobe Stock. I'm not sure if this is a free image or not, but in case you guys are not familiar with it, let me bring up a window here and let me show you a resource that you can use to find stock images. So you have on stock.adobe.com, you have this search engine that you can search for anything that you want in terms of images, videos, audios, templates, 3D objects, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But notice that there's a free section, and under free, you can just type something like car from above or something. And because I want the right angle, right? I don't know what we're gonna get, but you know, we get these free images that you can just license, and you see it as you hover over the images, it just says free. So you can come in here and find a car that may work for the project that you're working on. In this case, maybe I can't think of a better keyword. If you guys can help me out in the chat for getting a car. Maybe if I just put car top or something.
Yeah, or even, I wonder what would come up even just with car. Because you're
car.
Not quite directly from above.
Yeah, you're right about that. Let's see. But anyway, these are the free ones, and obviously there's more in like the regular section. So I have licenses. So I guess we could use a license if
General said car on road from above. I wonder
okay.
if car,
yeah, that's a good one.
Car on road, maybe even, because again, we're not directly above.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then I think maybe front needs to be in there because I have a feeling that might. Okay, it said front and it gives us a back, but that's all right.
I think we should teach a whole class on keywords for Adobe stock.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
I spend like hours typing in certain key phrases to find like the exact thing I'm looking for.
Exactly. I'm gonna just use the word above with all these keywords and see if we get something remotely close. I mean, that's kind of like the right height, but not the right angle. These are probably not the right angle. But anyway, so I think the one that I have already saved might work because it's kind of a similar angle. If not, we'll make it work. So to make a selection, you can go into select and subject on your layer. We'll see if it works well. Yeah, and it looks pretty good. It's not perfect. It's missing a little bit of the tire here, but I can just add it with the quick selection tool. I can create a layer mask and then just find, you know, like the best angle for this. So maybe, you know what? Maybe I need to rotate it horizontally so it's kind of in a better angle. I don't know. So what do you think? What do you guys think? Something like that, maybe?
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Here's another trick for you. Now that I'm bringing in elements from other images, I like to create a black and white adjustment layer to see the image in black and white. Removing the color removes a lot of the distractions in the scene. So it's very obvious now that this car is much brighter than everything else, and that wouldn't happen in a real photo, obviously. So you can select the levels adjustment layer, the curves adjustment layer, totally up to you. Clip it to the layer below so that this adjustment layer only affects the car and nothing else. And I'm just going to click on this white point and darken it a bit. So just really quick, in case you don't know how this works, it's very simple. Just look at this gradient. This gradient is very useful. So the gradient at the bottom is basically telling you what color is the darkest color and the brightest color. By default, the darkest color is black and the brightest color is white. So when I drag this to the left, the brightest color is no longer white, it's now this shade of gray. If I were to do the opposite and drag this over to the right, this color is no longer black, is now this shade of gray. So notice that that's why it gets brighter, right? Because the darkest color in this car is no longer black, is now pretty much white. That's why it's so bright. So what I'm doing here is I'm telling Photoshop, well, don't make the brightest color white, because in my scene here, there's hardly, I don't see anything that's pure white. Almost everything is off white, you know, like a shade of gray. So that will be way too bright. So just bring it over right about here so that it matches the rest of the scene. Also, I don't think I see any pure black anywhere. So I'm just going to move this over to the right a little bit so that there is no pure black, And you can see the before and the after. This is telling us here, these three sliders, is what range of colors are the darkest colors. So if I drag this to the right, Now I'm telling Photoshop that any pixel that is this shade of gray right here directly below or darker will become the color that I selected here, which is why the car got darker. And if I drag this point right here, now I'm telling Photoshop any pixel that is this shade of gray or brighter will become this shade of gray, which is why we get that off gray there. So that's how this works. And then this middle one controls the gamma. You can think about it. It's not really contrast, but it's probably like the easiest way to think about it. And then just, adjust it accordingly so that you get something that works. Usually when you make an image look good in black and white, it'll look good in color. So that's before and after. And obviously I don't think it's perfect, but it's much better. And then we can continue making adjustments till we get something that we like. So something like that, more or less. And then anytime you're putting something in, you also have to think about the contact shadow. So let me create a new layer.
Do you always use the black and white method when you're compositing?
Always, yeah, I would say most of the times I do. Just because sometimes I just can't see it, and I'm like, all right, why is this looking wrong? And I'm like, oh yeah, this is super bright,
Okay.
So most of the times I do.
Yeah, I haven't actually done that for a long time. I feel like I should do that because I have had the same sort of thing where you're struggling with the brightness or color or whatever. You don't know why. And
yeah, most of the times. So I use that one the most. The other check layers I don't use too often. There's the saturation map. I don't really use that one too often. And also the I'll show it just so you guys know what I'm talking about. Let me just bring in another image that's like completely different. I think I have like an astronaut here. Oh, I don't have an astronaut. Oh, I thought I had one. Let me see. I'm trying to find like a photo to bring in that kind of would fit this scene. I could have sworn I had an astronaut. Oh well. Let me see, just so I can show you this technique. Oh, that sucks. Let me see, car. Man, do I have a plane? I think I have a plane. I don't have a plane either. Wow. All these things I had. Let me look on Adobe stock for, I said astronauts, so I'll look for an astronaut. That could be a good thing on this scene, astronaut. One more is floating. That one might work. This one might be kind of cool too. Yeah, I think I'll go for this one. I like this one. So I'm just going to license the image. And
I've used that one.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like this one. I've never used it, but it's super cool. What do you use it for?
I think I made a composite where it was like supposed to be an Instagram picture, and he was like knocking the glass out of it, and then so in the glass was the universe, and then like around him was, so it's like that very meta Inception type thing that people do where they're using the Instagram frame.
Yeah, nice.
But no one liked it. It did really bad, so I think I deleted it.
Oh no. Oh, that, you know what? That's happened to me, where like I spend so much time on something and then I put it out. Like I remember I did a Spider-Man thing like 6-7 years ago, and I spent so much time on it. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be great. People are gonna love it. Yeah. Nobody cared. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then I'll do something that took me 5 minutes and it gets 1,000 likes. So who knows?
I know. It's so exhausting. And I'm finally getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I can't worry about what the algorithm is doing to my self-confidence.
Yeah, definitely. So I was going to show you guys something that not a lot of people know, but I think it's super cool. If you go into the select menu and choose subject, I'm sure a lot of you knew that you'll create a selection on the main subject. You could have also gone to the properties panel and gone to the remove background button. But the point is that once you know for sure that you have a selection that, included everything, and I think is missing part of the hand there and maybe the belt here. on its leg or whatever it is. But the point is that once you have a selection that's, pretty good, when you create a mask on an image like this one, you're going to run into these halos, the edge fringing. And one of the easiest ways of removing that is by going into filter, other, and there's two filters that work specifically with masks to expand or contract the mask. To contract, you can just go into minimum, and you can just make sure that you select roundness, because roundness allows you to work in with decimal points. See that 0.5, and squareness only gives you whole numbers. So then you can increase the radius, and that brings in the mask. You see how I pushed in the mask? It looks super skinny now. But if we just do like maybe like, I don't know, like half a pixel, or in this case we'll do like 1.5 or something, just so we can see more. But you see how I just contracted the mask? See that before and after?
Yeah.
See that? So then you can just fine tune it accordingly. You know what? We'll go to like 3 pixels just so it's super obvious. But you see how I lost all that edge fringing now. I'll press OK, and now it's no longer there, and it looks much better. And obviously I can go in here and fine tune any details that I missed. But anyway, the reason that we brought this guy in here was so that I could show you the feature that I was talking about, or not feature, but the check layer. So if you go into the solid color fill layer and then just select any color that's close to 50% gray, like it doesn't have to be 50% gray, it could be at 45 and that works. And then change the blending mode to luminosity, you're going to get to see the colors that are found in the image. Because basically, if you think about like what a color is, a color has hue, saturation, and brightness. So we're basically saying make all the brightness the same. So we're only looking at the hue and saturation. So you can really see the colors that are in the image. It could be a little difficult to see. If it is, just create a hue and saturation adjustment layer, increase the saturation all the way through, and you can really see what we have here. Notice how the astronaut is really, really warm, but the rest of the image is green and cool in the sky. So if he were really there, he wouldn't be that warm. I would probably add a little bit of green and blue on there just to kind of make it seem like the atmosphere or the colors that are in this scene are also affecting him. There's a lot of ways of doing that. Selective color is a great way. I'll clip it to the layer below. Selective color is weird because like it's difficult to understand in the sense of like, what is it doing? You're selecting a color and then adding or subtracting a color. What in the world does that mean? Well, let's go with neutrals because it's probably easiest to understand. So with neutrals, I can add cyan, and notice how like the astronaut looks cyan. If I reduce cyan, I get red. See that? And we have CMYK or black. Fun fact, K is really not for black. It stands for key, which was black back in the old school day printings, but now it's black. It is what it is. The point is that if the opposite of cyan is red, the opposite of magenta is green, the opposite of yellow is blue. And if you don't remember that, that's cool. You can create a color balance adjustment layer, and you can see that relationship here. You can see that relationship in so many places in Photoshop. You can see it in I'm trying to remember, it's like everywhere now, and I can't even remember. I think like under mode, if you go into RGB, you can see directly below that C, and then the G is the M, and the B is the Y. So it's everywhere. The point is that once you know that color relationship, you can start adding and subtracting colors and know what to get. For example, if I wanted to get blue here, I reduce the yellow and I'll get blue. And if I wanted to get green, I can decrease the magenta and I'll get green, and so on and so forth if I go far enough. So I have to make a decision. Do I want to go here or go further, or where do I want to go? Like, what colors do I want in this astronaut? And this looks good in this particular view because we have a lot of that green, we have some of that red, yellow, orange, not too much of the blue, but that's okay. The blue's mainly in the sky, and that may look good. I don't know. We'll disable this and see what that looks like. So before and after. So that this is kind of looking more like it's actually part of that scene. Also, we haven't done anything with the black and white. And again, he's way too bright. So maybe I will do that as well. I would create I will go with curves just to do something different. Curves adjustment layer, and then just bring down, the brightness, and maybe not make it so black or pure black. Something like this, I think looks pretty okay. So before and after, and I feel like that fits the scene much better. By the way, something else you have to think about too is that since he's so close to the camera, theoretically there could be a pure black, because the reason there might not be a pure black in the scene is because there's a lot of atmosphere between him and the background. So it's okay if he has a little more contrast in the rest of the scene because he's so close to the camera. So anyway, you get to make that decision in your designs or composites. But here we go. Cool. So I think that looks better, but now he's too green, so we need to adjust that. I should have done the brightness first. And yeah, see by changing the brightness, it changed the greens as well.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of need to come back in here and dial it down a little bit, and figure out exactly where you want it to be. And you don't have to be perfect. You can decide what looks good to your eye. You can even eyeball it too if you want. Like in this case, I think I might want to just eyeball it just a little bit more. But again, that looks much better than leaving it with the original colors, because they don't really match the scene at all. And also at the end, even though this is not the end of the stream, I don't even know how much time we have, but what I usually like to do maybe at this stage is press Control, Alt, Shift, and E. And usually I just call this layer final, even though it's not the final yet, and convert that into a smart object, because I can now work on this non-destructively, and I can start kind of getting an idea of how I'm going to finalize the composite. I usually finalize my composites in the camera raw filter, and it opened up in a new window. So let me move that over to the window that you can see. And usually what I like to do at this point is I can start adjusting, the colors of the image here. Maybe I want it a little bit warmer. Overall, I think it was too blue, and then start making adjustments to the shadows, highlights, and everything else. Maybe increase the texture a little bit, the clarity, vibrance, which increases saturation, so pixels that are not so saturated. Here's a trick for sharpening. If you click and drag, you really can't see what's going on, but if you hold the Alt key on Windows, that's the Option key on the Mac, as you drag the sharpening, you'll remove the color, because again, color can be distracting. And also we have a masking slider. Again, hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and drag. And white just means that the sharpening effect will be applied to everything. But as you drag to the right, Photoshop will find the edges of the image, and now the sharpening effect will be applied to the edges. And that's what I want, just the sharpening on the edges and not so much on the sky. And, people in the chat will know that I love adding grain to photos. So I'm going to add a little bit of grain, maybe a little bit of a vignette. And, like I'm already thinking, all right, is this where I want it to go? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. In the color grading, I can start playing around with adding maybe, a color to the shadows, maybe make it brownish or yellowish. And, you can adjust the intensity and just start playing around with how you think you want your composite to go. And then now that I have an idea, I'm like, okay, this is where it's going. I'll just disable it and continue working. And let me just put this into one layer, or one group rather, Control G to put it into a group. I misspell everything, so apologies if I misspell the names, but maybe I want my astronaut now on this side, right? And since I am working with a smart object, I can just press Control A to select all, Control Shift C to copy merge. In other words, going into edit, copy merge, it just copies all the layers that are visible. And I can just come into this smart object, double click on it to open it, paste, and now I have my variation here. When I close it and save it, it will apply all those adjustments to this scene, and that's what it looks like. So I have an idea of like where the composite is going, even after I apply all my edits. That way I can, just have it in the back of my head as I'm working.
That's a really good idea to do that sooner in the process, so you kind of know what it's going to look like in the end. Because I end up just working, and then doing the camera raw at the end, and then being like, oh, well, that adjustment that I made early on really screwed this all up.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of why I started doing it, because I realized, whoops, like I'm making some mistakes here.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like we need a sun here. So let's see what I have here. I know I have to have a picture of a sun. Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe one of these lens flares might be cool. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to add this lens flare here and flip horizontal. And I mean, I know the lighting is really not, you know, whatever, we're having fun. The lighting doesn't really match, but who cares? I'm just going to add the screen blending mode here. And I don't know, we have like this sun here, and that kind of helps me hide a little bit of the seam there. I'm just gonna rotate this. And you know what? Image adjustment levels, and maybe brighten it up just a little bit, just so we can see more of that glare. Cool. And let me scale that up like so. And that is looking pretty good. I was actually recently I was working on a project for a client, and I did something. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I haven't even made a tutorial about it. And I was like, oh, maybe I can show it in Adobe Live, but I don't know how to incorporate it into this scene. But since I talked about it, I'll just show it anyway, even if we can't add it to the scene, or maybe you guys could tell me how to add it to the scene. But basically, and I'm not saying that like this is like super cool or anything, but I was like, oh, this is actually kind of neat. So,
Jesus, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was my audio. Seems like you got a robot voice coming.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, I did. All right, we're gonna stand by. Technical difficulties. We'll be right back.
Give me one.
All right, everyone, we are back. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Jesús, how you feeling? Doing good?
I'm doing good. And yeah, sorry about that, guys, but we're back and I hope you can hear me okay and ready to continue.
Yes, let us know in the chat if there are any more sound issues or screen issues, and hopefully we should be good to go.
Cool. Yeah, so we kind of, took a break right at the right moment because I was talking about something I wanted to show you guys that it's not necessarily, I didn't know how to incorporate it into the stream, but I did something for a client and it looked pretty cool. And I thought, oh man, how can I incorporate this into this stream? So I'll do it and then we'll figure it out together. Basically what you can do is you can create a, like a nice little rectangle here. If you hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and you click, you'll like create that intersection there. But then you can move that within that cube like so, and it's a rounded corner. And I think you might be getting an idea to where I'm going. I'm going to create a chain, and you can determine the thickness and try to align it as best as you can. You can actually align it by selecting both and then going into this icon here and align them with the icons, and then there you go. And then you can create yet another one that is the same thickness. So I'm just going to trace over this one like so, and I'll place it here. So this is going to be my little chain, maybe about that long. Cool. And let me see, now that I'm looking at it, you know what, it might be too big. So let me make it just a little smaller like so, and then maybe reduce this one down like so. And I think that might work a little bit better. And cool. So now I'm going to put these two into a group just so I can have them in a group. And what you can do is go into, well, not the brush tool yet. You can set it as a brush. So edit, define brush preset, and you can call it a chain or whatever you want to call it. And I'll make a white background. And when you paint, you're going to get a chain. No, not really. What you need to do now is, first of all, have your flow set to 100. The color really doesn't matter, but I'll make it black. And on the brush settings, under shape dynamics, actually first you need to change the brush tip and increase the spacing to like right about here. And yeah, that looks pretty good. And I can now go into the brush settings, and under shape dynamics, under angle, change it to direction. And what you can now do is create these cool chain effect, and once you do that, you can also double click to the side of the layer here. It brings up the layer style window. Here it is. Add a bevel and emboss, and maybe increase or decrease the size accordingly, depending on what you need. And you can start seeing that it's now getting some shape there. See that? So
that's so cool.
Doesn't look completely flat. So I did that for a design that I was working on for a client. And obviously I spent a little more time making the chain, look more realistic, but that was basically it. And the advantage of doing that is that you can, completely create, your own design. You're not stuck with whatever the photo looks like, right? So I don't know, maybe this astronaut has like a chain keeping him in orbit so he doesn't fly away, So that's so cool. That's what we'll do. We'll just place that there. And there you go. He's got a chain. And then maybe we can make it a little bit larger. I don't know, maybe larger like so, and then place it like above him. And now he's like tied or something by his leg or something. I don't know. But yeah, maybe his leg is tied down to that chain. And we'll do what I did just a moment ago. I can double click to the side of the layer, go into bevel and emboss. The light source is coming from the right. That's where we placed that light source earlier. You can adjust the size and depth, and maybe, change the color to something else, maybe like yellowish because of the sunlight. Totally up to you. Depends on what you want to do. Maybe I can change the color overlay to like darker gray and contour. Maybe in the bevel and emboss, I can change the contour to something else and see what gives me more of a chain look. I was actually pretty happy with what I had, but maybe this one's a little better. I don't know. The point is that, you know, we were able to add that chain to him just by creating a brush. And of course, we want to make things into perspective. So then it'll be much smaller down here than up here. And then you can copy layer styles by holding Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and dragging it onto a new layer. So we can apply that same layer style there. And you can, you know, mask it if you need to so that it looks more realistic. So figure out how you want to mask it. I'm not totally happy with the way this one looks, but, you know, I think that you guys get the idea. And what I'll do here is I'll cheat a little bit. And with this brush, I'll set the hardness to 100. And I can just probably freehand like the other side that's going to the back there somehow. Trying to figure out how the chain would like really wrap around him. And then,
oh yeah,
you know, this side, I don't know, something like that. And obviously with a layer mask, I could hide. And here's the trick. With the layer mask, if you paint with black, obviously you'll hide, but notice how the layer mask is affecting the layer style. If you don't want that to happen, just put the layer into a group and place the layer mask on that group. And now it will not affect the layer style. So you can hide these parts of the chain. And there we go.
Cool.
So now he's being...
I love seeing all your little methods for doing things differently. You know, I wouldn't ever think to make a chain out of a brush like that. That's super cool.
Yeah, and obviously this only works if it's not like the main element. You know, like I don't think it looks very good here on his leg. I kind of just put it on there just because I don't know, I need it to make sense. But it would probably make, you know, like for the element here that's just coming off behind them, it totally makes sense. It's too small, it doesn't have a lot of detail, so you can definitely get away with it.
Yeah.
And let's, you know what? I was just thinking about images that we could bring in during the break. And one of the things that I was thinking about was, how would I say, like a bridge, freeway, like a overpass.
Yeah,
like, you
overpass. Bridge overpass.
Yeah, we'll see. See, this is what I'm thinking about. Something that we can see from, this one might work. Something that we can see from like the bottom part of it. We can see I think this one could work. We'll see. And I just want to incorporate that into the composite just to add more things to it. And it always gives me the download window that I don't really like. I just want to use my libraries panel, which of course is not going to connect right now, but that's okay.
I know.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties today. I guess I will have to download it. Oh, here we go. It's going. There it is. So if I can bring this here, I can just figure out how this, maybe something, I don't know, maybe there's something coming off the bottom here. I just want it to feel like there's all these structures just all over the place in this impossible world. And I'll use the Polygonal lasso tool again just to make a really rough selection, but I think it'll work.
Do you have the version of the first one that you did for the cover photo too?
Yeah, I do.
I want to see that one at the end.
Sure. And just, I don't know, maybe rotate it a little bit, trying to figure out what will be a good angle for it. I don't know, maybe there's, I just felt like this side needed something. So, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we can get rid of it, but we'll leave it there for now. Another thing that I wanted to add to this scene is birds. And I actually do have a birds brush. And I believe that this brush was created by our good friend, Kyle Webster. I'm 99% sure. And basically the way this works is, and now I guess I'll show you now that I'm talking about it. If you have a brush tool, if you have the brush tool active, you can go into the gear icon and you can select, it's this icon here, not the preset, but the actual brush, and click on the gear icon and select get more brushes. And that will take you to this window right here. And it's thousands of free brushes created by Kyle T. Webster, and he's updating them every so often. So winter 2022 brushes are here. The one that I like is there's a lot of great ones, but the one that I'm thinking about now is under concept. If you click on download, you'll download this concept ABR file. You can just click on it and Photoshop will install the brushes automatically. And now you'll notice that in my brushes panel here at the very, very bottom, let me just go all the way to the bottom here, you'll see the concept brush set. And somewhere in here, there are birds. So let me just type in the word birds on the search. And you can see right here, Kyle's concept brushes bird mix. So I'll select that. And then when you create a new layer, you can just click and you'll get birds. To be frank with you, I think I edited the brush that Kyle created just because it doesn't really give me what I want. So I clicked on this icon, I disabled the dual brush, and then now I get the birds how they should be. So I'm gonna make them much, much smaller. And now I have birds flying on my scene. There you go. And obviously they need to be the right color. So what color should they be? Well, if you think about how in perspective drawing, there's atmospheric perspective, which allows you to create depth in a painting or a drawing, then you'll know that things that are further away from you have less contrast and also take the color of the atmosphere, in a lot of cases, the color of the sky. So that's what would happen on this scene. So what I will need to do this to make it more realistic is double click to the side of the layer, click on color overlay, and then just select the color of the sky. There it is. And these birds are so far away that you can't really tell a lot about them, but it looks like it fits in the scene. See that? So that's before and after. And of course you could have just selected that color and painted with that brush, accordingly. So we're gonna have more birds over here, but that's something that you can do.
Love it.
All right. I feel like I wanted to do more with, now that I'm looking at it, Anna, and you'll agree, I don't think this looks good at all. So I'm going to get rid of it. Let me see. Let me find another road to add to this composite or another element. What would be cool? Oh, you know what? I know what I'll do. So since we have an astronaut, maybe we should have some sort of, I don't know, spacecraft or maybe like a hot air balloon. What do you guys think?
Ooh, yeah. A hot air balloon could be cool. Let us know what you all want to see in this and we can get crazy with it.
Yeah, definitely.
I was thinking too, like I like the idea of the road coming off. Maybe that just wasn't the right image. And maybe something coming from like the other road, like where it curves around.
Sure. Oh, like this one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's find something for that.
Out and across.
Sounds good. I like that idea. Let's do the hot air balloon, since that one will be an easy one, I hope. Let me see. So yeah, this one will probably work. So might as well just license it now, and it's gonna ask me to save, and I'm not gonna want to save. There we go. We don't need to save. And it should appear here in just a moment. There it is. And I'm just going to drag that in. And I guess this could also help us with the lesson on atmospheric perspective as well. There it is, about that size. And I'll just use the quick selection tool to select it this time. And it's okay if I don't get every single pixel. It's going to be pretty small. And just like before, right? If that would, the thing is, when you mask something, it doesn't necessarily have the lighting, and it doesn't have the atmosphere colors or anything of that other scene. So if you just leave something as is, as you saw, it just looks like you're doing a collage. And what you can do is you can create, as you just saw, a color overlay using that same color. You can just bring down the opacity accordingly so that it kind of fits the scene better. And it might be a little too big, so I can just make it smaller, you know. And so now we have this balloon here. Also, something I haven't done in this stream is create a dodge and burn layer. That's a photography thing, mainly done in portraits. You can either highlight or create shadows over a face to create depth. You can do that in a composite as well. There's a lot of ways of doing it. The traditional way that most people do is creating a layer, filling it with 50% gray. Shift and backspace brings up the fill window, and you can just select 50% gray, and that fills the layer with that color. Then if you change the blending mode to overlay or soft light, you can now darken or brighten areas of your image. So in this case, the burn tool will burn or make the areas that I paint on darker. Make sure that you have midtone selected in the options bar, like so. And notice how now I'm creating some shape here.
Yeah.
And I can do the same thing on the other side. And let me make my brush smaller. I'm using the left and right bracket keys on the keyboard to resize my brush. And I'm just creating now the highlight that's on the other side. And obviously spend more time in your projects, but you can see now how I'm just adding shape just by doing that. And in this scene, I think maybe it'll be kind of neat if we have some clouds in front of it. There's several ways that we can do that. We can just select the original image here, and maybe we can steal some of these clouds. We'll see if that works. And I'm just going to, again, press Control J on Windows, Command J on the Mac to jump it, as we talked about earlier. And I'm going to place this on the very top right here. And then I'm just going to double click to the side of the layer and use the blend diff to hide the darker pixels, but keep the clouds. And that looks pretty good, but then I need to just move this layer around and figure out like what clouds I want in front of it. Something like that could be cool. Yeah. Let me just keep fine tuning these pixels. I don't know, something like that. Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click to hide everything in that layer. And I can selectively bring back the details in that photo just by painting with white. And I can just, you know, just a few little clouds in front of it, not a lot, you know, just a tiny little bit. So again, that helps just place that image more into the scene and maybe even reduce the opacity accordingly. Cool. So yeah, so we were talking about a road coming. You know what, Anna, we might be able to use the road that's already here. Let me just see what we have. Maybe we can use this road if I Photoshop it.
Yeah,
that is what we're cool. Here.
Oh yeah.
Or
and maybe we could just build like towers going down.
Ooh. So yeah. Oh, like... I see what you mean. I see what you mean. I like that idea. So I'll convert it into a smart object, and excellent idea, Anna. That's why you make the big bucks. Let's distort it and, you know, make it seem like it's, you know, just coming.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that like Y split too.
Yeah.
Kind of add something interesting.
Cool. So I was, you know what, I was just looking at, I was like, yeah, you're right. There's two of the same truck.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I never
red truck again.
I never noticed it. Oh my God. Anyway, you know, we'll do the lazy way again. I'm just gonna do a polygonal lasso selection, and you know, it doesn't have to be precise because we're just trying to figure out where we want things. And then once, you know, I'm happy with what I have, I can spend all the time in the world making these small adjustments, but I don't usually like to fine tune anything until I'm sure I'm going to keep it, because, I could, spend 2 hours just on this road, fine tuning the small details. So no need to do any of that while I'm not sure if I want to keep it. I'm just filling with black here. And for now, I'll keep the pillars that are there. But, as you said, we're probably going to build our own later. But I just kind of want to keep them there just to see what the structure is like. And maybe even use these pillars as reference, depending on how it looks in the composite. We'll see. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, it's cool because you can really start to kind of build your own worlds. Like it makes me think of all these like cyberpunk cities that are really popular right now, and how most people will make them in a 3D program. We can kind of start to build them in Photoshop by piecing together little parts of different images.
Mm-hmm. So here I made a mistake. I accidentally closed the selection and I don't want to redraw it. So I'm just going to do a select inverse. And I'm just going to paint with black with the brush tool in these areas, just because I don't want to start again and redraw it. But
yeah,
sometimes that happens. Super cool. Oh my God, look, you see that? You see how I bent the selection here in the... Oh, Lord. You know what? I don't think I need to worry too much about that, because I think that's actual, like, that area probably will stay anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it'll be on the green, and we can like paint it out too.
Yeah. All right, cool. Like, I can definitely paint that out. Cool. Yeah. So like now we can create those pillars. Like, what would be the best way? Let me think about this. Maybe, you were talking about the pen tool earlier, but I think that for this case, maybe the pen tool might be the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so that's just like one side of the pillar there. I don't know. Is it that color? I'm trying to select like a color that's similar to it. And obviously, like, I can, come in there and add texture. So what I'll do is I'm gonna again do the lazy way and just duplicate that layer, that shape, and just move the other side to the left, and I'll just make this one just a little bit darker, like so. And what I can do is put these two into a group, and I think I have this, what texture I got? That. Metal, concrete. Yeah, concrete would probably be better.
Where'd you get the textures from? Are they just from Adobe stock?
Yeah, so good question. So this is something that I really, really like because it's free. So if you go into stock.adobe.com, under the free tab, I can just type in, like metal text or concrete, in this case, concrete texture. And then you get all these for free. So you can use any one of these. So like maybe I'll try one. I mean, the detail is so small that it really doesn't matter, but I'll try this one and I'll just license it, and it's free. So there's a lot of free content that you can get with Adobe stock that I highly recommend that you check it out. Obviously, there's more content in the paid section, but the free section has a whole bunch of stuff that you can use.
I always forget about textures being in there too. Like, I just go in there to look for photos. And then the other day I was looking for a texture and I was like Googling it and trying to find something that worked, and like totally forgot to look in Adobe stock for the rock texture that I needed.
Right. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. So, and the cool thing is that it's a stock photo. In other words, you can use it for your work without worrying about licensing and all that stuff. A lot of times if you download something from Google, you may not have the rights to use it. So, we'll call, I mean, I know that this doesn't look perfect, but it looks good enough. And by the way, I clipped that layer to the group of the pillar that I made, and I can change the blending mode to like multiply or overlay or, soft light, whatever I think gives me the result that I want. But you can see the result there, and can bring down the opacity if need be. if the texture is too strong, maybe we just want the hint, but you can see, that we did a good job. Also, something that I don't like, and this is just the nature of vectors, is that they're too sharp. So if you notice, this one on top here has this super sharp line. What I like to do is go in the properties panel and just give it a little bit of a feather, not too much, so that it smooths it out. See how it's not so sharp anymore? And I don't know, I feel like that looks much more realistic. We'll be lazy again, so I'll just put these into a group, call it pillar, and I'll hold Alt and Windows Option on the Mac and drag this one over to this side. I think the other one was right about here. Here's the trick for you. Notice how when I'm moving around, sometimes it snaps and I can't quite get it to where I want to go. See that? See, I'm just like, I can't get it. If you hold the Control key on Windows or the Command key, you'll disable snapping as long as that key is held, and then you can just place it. It's a great feature that I really think everyone needs to use, because that happens to me all the time, where I'm like, I can't quite get it to where I need to go. And
that's a really good tip.
That one goes there. And also I made it larger. I don't know if people were paying attention, but I held Alt and Windows Option in the Mac, drag, and then Control T to transform, drag the pivot point, because this is the area where I want to pivot or scale from. And there we go. It's also known as the reference point. And what I can now do is create a layer mask on each of these guys and paint with black, just to kind of reveal that, the area that should be visible. Do the same thing on the other side here. And the same thing here. Obviously, like I said before, we'll spend, probably not in this stream, but I would spend more time fine-tuning all the small details. I'm just trying to make sure that everything works. Cool, and I like that. Good idea there, Anna. I really like that.
Sweet.
Super, super cool. And, if you remember, or did I delete it? Oh no, here it is. My final one, the one that has all those effects, still here. So I can now press Control A to select all, Control Shift C to copy merge, and inside of this smart object, I can just paste what we have now. See, you can kind of see what we did. Started here, went here, now we're here, looking much, much better, I think. We can close this, save it, and all those filters and effects that we applied earlier will apply to the image here as well. The one thing that I'm not really liking is I don't think this road here adds a lot to that composite. So I might actually, because I don't, it just doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah.
So maybe I'll figure where that is and then hide it. Let's see, figure out where it is. Yeah, it's in this layer here. And it's probably, I want to be sure before I spend time removing it. Let's see. I think is this section like right here. And then to be sure, I'm just going to create a layer, and just with red, I'll be like, all right, I think this is the road. We'll see. I'll save it. Go back. Yep, there it is.
Perfect.
That's the road. So what I'll do here is just create a new layer and, just use the clone stamp tool and clone this out like so. And I'll go fast, because who wants to see me spend 4 hours cloning this thing? Is there anything that you like to watch? Whether it's, necessarily like a TV show or anything like that, but like, I can't believe I just watched 4 hours of like something random.
What do you mean? Like,
because I'm thinking about myself. For whatever reason, I like watching reaction videos. So I watch a lot of, oh God, yes. It's terrible. So like for like songs that I like or movies that I like, I don't know why. And I'm like, I can't believe I just watched an hour of reaction videos.
That's amazing. I don't know. I'm trying to think like so random things that I like to watch.
Yeah.
I like watching makeup tutorials.
Okay, cool.
Yes, that's kind of random and waste of time, I guess. And then lately I guess in terms of watching things like on YouTube and stuff, I've been trying to watch like some little educational things, whether it be about like Photoshop techniques or Blender, or I'm kind of trying to learn Blender now, and then crypto stuff. So I spend a lot of time watching that kind of like educational things.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really big into, like, I'm not good, but I'm also doing Blender, and it's super fun. Super
so fun, but so hard. I'm like really struggling, and I get to a certain point and then I get stuck, and luckily my brother's really good with it, so I call him up. I'm like, can you do a Zoom meeting? Help.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then you know how like in Zoom you can control someone else's screen, so he'll go onto my computer and control my mouse and then help me set it all up.
Oh wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, so that's super helpful.
That is really, really cool. What do you think? I think we did a good job removing that.
Yeah,
that road. It looks
better.
much better. Also,
Everyone's
like,
loving it in the chat. Looks like people like it.
Also, if you know, if this were quote unquote real, this side will have a different shade. It'll be brighter, I think. So maybe I can do like a levels and then just brighten it up just a little bit with the levels adjustment. Not too much, just a little bit. Something like that.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I'll paint with black up here because you wouldn't see that line in the sky, just on the actual earth. There we go. Super, super cool. Also, in those in those brushes that I downloaded earlier with Kyle's concept brushes down here, Kyle also has, I believe, clouds. Yep, here we go. He's got a whole bunch. So we'll try the poofy ones first. And I just want to add some clouds like in front of this astronaut. I feel like there will be some clouds up here. Yep, this will work. I don't know if we want white clouds, but maybe, you know, like that, whatever that blue is, just off that color. And I don't know, maybe something like this, so you can imply that there's, you know, he's pretty high up, you know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Clouds or no clouds?
I think that's kind of cool, like creating some atmosphere. Maybe just like a tiny touch in that one corner.
Top left, or which corner do you mean?
The bottom left.
All right, let's do that again. You're my creative director. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, it's like slightly delayed for a second for me.
Oh, okay,
so.
Cool.
Yeah,
no worries.
Yeah, that looks good.
All right. Cool. So, and again, you know, like at this point, by the way, I don't know if you notice it, but I keep pressing Control S to save, Command S in the Mac, of course, but I'm also doing the copy paste into my smart object thing so we could see what we got. And we can save this. And this is looking pretty cool. I kind of like it more with that effect, obviously. And the cool thing about this technique is that I can always come back into my camera raw filter and change my mind, right? So like I can say, you know what, maybe I want it to be colder rather than warmer, and I can adjust these sliders and press OK, and now it applies that effect to the image. And then, you know, you guys could tell me if you like the warm version better or the cool version better. But you know, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
Brian said, happy little clouds. Shout outs to Bob Ross.
Yes, always.
Cool. Question or?
Let's see. Someone said flip the light and shadow from the bridge pillars, maybe. Yeah, I guess.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep, you're right about that.
I was thinking maybe making those darker would be good.
Okay, let's start with the one that's closest to us. See, like I'm not even paying attention to my own. Is it this one, pillar 2? Oh, the reason that it's not showing is because I have this layer enabled. See that? And now, there we go. So if we were to flip the light, I mean, I just gotta change the colors, right? So then whatever color that is, I will make it here. And then this one will be just a little bit darker. Like that. Is that what you guys meant? And it actually needs to be a lot darker, but you know, it is what it is. We'll work with that. And I'll do the same thing on the other pillars, just so that we're consistent.
Fanny is liking the warm look. I think I agree. I like the warm look too.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. We'll keep it warm. Cool. And one more. Cool. And you know, just because I just want to work fast, not because necessarily the best technique, but I'm just going to convert everything into a smart object. So I can just have it in one layer here, and I can create another layer on top of that, clip it to the layer below. And you know what? We'll do a different, I was going to do dodging and burning, but we'll do it a different way. We'll go into the curves adjustment layer now, clip it to the layer below, and just darken these like so. And then on this layer mask, just invert it. Control I if you want to use the keyboard shortcut. And now I can just paint with the brush tool with white to reveal that effect. So then I can, you know, like maybe now darken them like so. So they're not all just the same shade all throughout, you know?
Yeah, and that looks good having it like a little darker towards the top, and then kind of where that cloud's coming in.
Yeah, and this is, you know, this is where you really spend most of the time in composites with all these little details rather than, you know, like the masking and all that stuff. But that looks pretty good. If you want to, you can also create a curves adjustment layer, clip it to a layer below, and then this time drag up to create the brighter areas, and then Control I to invert instead of using the button this time. And, you know, maybe I can just kind of, you know, paint in some of the brighter areas there. And of course, you can adjust it accordingly. So that's the advantage of using this technique over the 50% gray layer we used earlier, because now that I paint it, I have the flexibility to intensify the effect or reduce it.
Yeah. I always end up using curves and like painting on the layer mask versus doing the dodge and burn. I remember always doing that for portraits, but then I haven't used it in composites.
Yeah. You know, sometimes it's just mood. I'm like, I'm in the mood of using a layer today. Today I'm in the mood of using a curves adjustment layer.
Exactly.
Also, even though I didn't do it here, something that I do recommend doing is when you create a curves adjustment layer for the purposes that we're just using it in to either brighten or darken pixels, I like to change the blending mode, and I'll show you why. Let me make an extreme adjustment. It's like a crazy adjustment, right? But notice that by making that adjustment, the curves adjustment layer also adjusted the saturation. So if I go into luminosity, see that? See how it just affects the brightness, but not the saturation compared to normal? So usually if you're gonna do that, I would recommend changing it to luminosity. That way you're only changing the brightness of the image and not affecting saturation, but that's up to you. And like in this case, it didn't matter, right? Like what saturation am I going to increase in here? Not much. So I didn't bother, but in some cases it makes a difference, especially like in, I don't know, portraits or something like that, where you may not want to increase the saturation, increase the saturation.
That's a really good tip.
Oh, you know what?
So many pro tips today.
Oh, I see. Hannah is in the chat. Hey, Hannah, just a friend of mine.
Hi, Hannah. Welcome in.
Cool. You know, I saw something that said the reflection in the astronaut's face. Were they asking me to add one or to put one in?
I think maybe put one in. I did see, let's see. So Donald said needs a reflection. I saw a while back, someone said they wanted a dinosaur reflected.
A dinosaur reflected.
Like the dinosaurs coming at the astronaut.
Yeah.
I think that's what I read.
You know what? I just went online and found a photo. I don't know if we're gonna be able to use it, but I think we will. As a reflection in the face. I think you'll like it, Anna. We're going to use this photo I found online just now. I think you might recognize it from your website.
Wow.
The lighting is not going to match, but you know what? It's all good.
The astronaut is coming towards his true love.
There you go. I always like to add my friends to my composites. Too bad I don't think I knew you at the time, or maybe I did, but we weren't friends. But I made I'll show you. I'll show it in a moment. It's in my Behance, and it's like a it's a composite, but it was made in like 3D, and I'll show it to you. But I added like not necessarily my friends, but like things about my friends, and everything in that piece is like an Easter egg.
That's so cool.
But I don't think I knew yet because otherwise I would have added you.
That's so funny. Yeah, you might have to make a new version.
I guess I will. I know we're almost done, but I'll still show you guys that it's on my Behance page. Everyone here is on Behance, so you can check it out if you like. So here we go. It's created. Everything here is digital from Adobe Dimension, but everything here is an Easter egg. Like I made this composite here. This is Claudia from Print My Soul's logo. Here's that Spider-Man composite I was talking about earlier that no one liked. You know, like this is a painting from a friend. You can see me speaking, one of my first speaking engagement in abroad. My two good friends from Adobe, Sandria and Dinah. Sandria's in the Adobe stock teams. Okay, I guess so is Dinah. They helped me out a lot when I was first starting out. This drawing is by one of my friends. Every book in here has been written by a friend of mine.
Wow.
This laptop has photos or logos from a bunch of my friends. There's actually Howard Pinsky in here, who's now with Adobe, but I included his old school iFlow Studio logo in here. I think it's this one with the S, if I'm not or I forget which one his logo is, but anyway, so.
That's awesome. I love Howard.
Yeah, and you can see like Bert Monroy, the guy that I learned Photoshop from, Colin Smith, a good friend of mine. So like everything in here is just like an Easter egg, and it was all created in Adobe stock, which is what I was saying. I was like, I don't think I knew you, Anna, because I probably would have put you in here somewhere.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to remake it because that's super cool, and I want to be a part of it.
I'll make version 2.
Deal.
And I'm just there. You go, Anna.
Okay, cool. So I am the astronaut. I gotcha.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Astronaut in the Ocean. I like that song. You guys like that song?
Me too. I was just singing that randomly the other day out of nowhere.
Just like while you were hanging out driving?
Yeah. Just like, I don't know. It popped into my head randomly, and now it's coming up again today. Guess it's a sign.
It is, yeah. I think you're gonna have to make another composite with this astronaut.
I'm so down. I'm always down to make cool composites with astronauts. I have one coming up that I'm selling as part of my NFT collection. That's like this astronaut lounging on a moon. Mm-hmm. And my brother made it for me in 3D, and he's like smoking, and the smoke is becoming this crazy, like surreal, bright, colorful planet scene.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool.
It does look pretty cool. So where can we find your NFTs, or like your whole NFT situation?
So anything that I have for sale right now is it's going to be linked in my Instagram bio, and then also over on Twitter, which is where I'm more active nowadays. Since
you're more active on Twitter now than Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram has killed the algorithm, so I'm like posting everything on Twitter now.
So here we go. Here's your Anna McNaughty with a Y at the end.
Yep.
And there you are. Awesome. And the NFTs are where? Like on links?
Yeah, if you click the link in my bio, and then I have Super Rare. I haven't put anything on Super Rare yet, but the Moon collection that I'm talking about specifically with this astronaut is right there on OpenSea, and the astronaut will be dropping on 2/22/22.
Wow. Oh man, I gotta think of something cool to do that day. Thank you for the. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Everyone's gonna do something that day.
I know. It's like, man, this is probably a bad day to drop something, but whatever.
Yeah. Super, super cool. All right. I have a couple of things on OpenSea, but nothing.
Oh, like really?
Yeah. I just posted. I posted the make a masterpiece Adobe stock thing that I did a couple of years ago.
Okay.
It's also on my Behance if you guys want to check it out.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, so the one thing that I'm missing here, and actually I'll name this layer Anna. The one thing that I think I need with your face, Anna, is I need to maybe desaturate it a little bit. I think it's too saturated. There we go. There you go. You can barely see you coming through.
Perfect.
There we go. Let me just save this and do the whole copy thing we've been doing just so that I could see what the final would look like with you in there. And actually number 4 only has a slight variation, so, and I think people say they like the warm version better, so I don't know if that's the one that I kept. If it's not, I'll make it warm again.
Yeah, I saw a few people said they like cool, a few people liked warm. I think we were kind of divided down the middle.
Cool. We'll go with warm and brighter. Now that you're in it, it needs to be warmer, I feel like.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. And trying to think of what else how much time we have? We have about 10 minutes. What do you guys want to see? What can I add to this composite? And while I do that, I do want to show the Behance project that I was talking about. By the way, if you don't have Behance, make sure that you sign up for it. It's free and you can showcase your work. So here's my Behance account. You can click on it from the chat, I'm sure. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this on Adobe Live. Maybe I have. I don't remember. But my most recent project for a client was this poster for the show Good Sam on CBS.
Oh, wow.
My good friend Lisa Carney, who is an amazing artist, and she creates all these movie studio posters, got me to collaborate with her on this project, and I needed to create this background so that the studio could use the background on different formats, not just the poster, which you can barely see the background. But this took like over 12 hours just to match everything and create everything. And pretty soon I'll be creating some posters on my own, and I'm very excited about that I get to like
congratulations. That's so cool.
Thank you. Share work that you might see like on TV or like on the movie theater and things like that. But we were talking about NFTs, and the only one that I posted so far, and I'm not going to link to it now, but if you go, this is the one that I have up. It's about 4 years ago or something. I made this piece for Adobe. It's the Make a Masterpiece campaign, where me and 5 other artists were hired to recreate paintings that have been lost either through damage or theft. My particular painting was this one here. It was all created Photoshop and Adobe stock images. These are the images there. The left one is mine. The right one is the original. And as you can see, I had to like really get creative with some of these things to, make sure I found the things that, the funny thing is that I couldn't really find fur for the hats. And I was like, what did they use? I was like, oh yeah, they used animals. So I just got a cat and created the fur hats out of that cat. But
oh my God, this is genius. So cool.
It took a really, really, really long time to do. This is actually created for the first Adobe Max that I ever presented at in San Diego. And I worked on it into the last possible moment that I actually missed my flight to Adobe Max.
Oh
and
my God.
I woke up after the plane had already landed in San Diego. And as you can imagine, Anna, I know you've been a speaker out there and have gone out there, and imagine just like your first time just missing the plane, like having to make phone calls and, hey, I missed the plane. You know?
So did you end up getting there?
I got, thankfully, you know, I'm in the Bay Area, so San Diego's relatively close,
yeah.
so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I was there like, I don't know, like 10 hours late or something.
Wow.
Which it didn't affect my presentations, but it was still annoying.
That's good. Oh my God. That's super cool. I don't think I've ever seen that. Like all of the little pieces that you did there for it.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. I really, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, what do you have it listed for?
I don't remember. So to be honest, the whole thing was not started by me. It was like one of the other guys who made the piece. I forget which piece he made exactly, but he was like, hey, everybody, we should all put our pieces together as NFTs. And we were like, cool, let's do it. You know? Yeah. So that's kind of how it started. What I'm going to do now, I feel like I need something extra in this scene. And I just went to Adobe Stock as we were talking, and there's this image here, and I feel like we need a mountain. So why don't we add a mountain here? Just like I feel like it just feels too flat. You know, I'm from California, and I want to see mountains in the background.
Yeah.
So let's put one here. That giant mountain, obviously not that big, but I'm just gonna scale this down like so, and it'll just be like back here somewhere, kind of like right about there. And I'll create a layer mask, paint with black. And you know what? Maybe I'll just use the selection tool here for the sky. Select, whoops. Oh my God, I'm clicking on a bunch of things. Does that ever happen to you guys? See, like you press the wrong key and next thing you know, like all these weird things start happening?
All the time. Story of my life.
I get too cocky. I don't look on my keyboard and I'm like, I know where that key is. I'm just gonna push this button.
Yep.
Cool. And now I'll fill with black. That looks pretty okay. And, you know, maybe I need to like rotate it a little bit, bring it down. And I'm going to paint with black just to hide all these sharp edges. And, you know, the whole perspective thing once again. And this time I'm just going to select whatever color this is here. I'll use a different technique. I'll just fill it with that color here and then just.
Oh yeah, that's sweet. Like this far off mountain.
Yeah, there we go. And obviously spend some time fine tuning it, but I don't know. I just felt like we needed something there, you know, it didn't feel right. And, you know, now that I have it set up, I can adjust the scale, right? So maybe you want like this giant mountain back here, right? You know, like this.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I like it a little bigger.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be realistic, not like anything in this composite is.
Yeah. So we only have like 2 minutes left, but can you quickly show the one that you did before that was the cover photo, or just want to see like kind of what we ended up doing?
Sure. Give me 1 second.
While he's bringing that up, I just want to remind everyone that we will be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time with Jesús and myself hosting. And so it's going to be another fun time of creating some more impossible worlds, hopefully, right?
Yeah, definitely. Let me open up the PSD. I think is this one.
Cool.
Oh, actually, I didn't even save it. Oh, yeah, here we go. It was very simple. It was actually basically that. I think I added
oh, yeah, there's the road.
like, oh yeah, so I actually made it darker here. And actually added that little line too to like show the highlight, but that was basically it.
Cool.
And I think I might have actually added some like a warm filter on top of that.
I think I like what we did today better. I think we had
think
some
so too.
interesting things.
I think so as well.
This was awesome. Thank you so much, Jesus. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Be sure to stick around after this for the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge, and immediately followed by the new Winter Games segment. So that should be super fun. And we will see you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.